Hey guys, this is Jimmy Allen with Crazy Juicy Love. So I'm so excited to be starting my second season of Why You Should Hire a Coach. I have a special guest and her name is Sarah Harrigan. She's a confidence and relationship expert and her company is called Design by Vibe. And I'm so looking forward to having this conversation with her. And I hope you enjoy this conversation of why you should hire a coach to elevate your life, to elevate your game, your relationship, and make 2019 the best. I'm hitting record. And so this is Crazy Juicy Love, and I have a special guest. Her name is Sarah. Your last name is Herring, right?
Harrigan.
Harrigan, yes. So Sarah Harrigan, I am so happy to have her a part of my Crazy Juicy Love podcast. And this season is about why you should hire a coach. And I did some research and I went out and I reached out to my community and found some coaches that are very powerful and wonderful and doing some really great things that I feel that really align with what I'm trying to help create in the world with Crazy Juicy Love, not just with relationships, but in life, in your business, in finances. And, you know, her company is named Design by Vibe. And I'm just like, yes. And I was like reading her bio online and just like all the things that you were saying. I was just like, yes, confidence relationship expert, founder of Design by Vibe, international life coaching event service, and I definitely love when you said, like, she's helping inspiring leaders and entrepreneurs and get off their beliefs, like get off your beliefs and preventing them from reaching higher heights. So without further ado, here's Sarah. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm glad to have you. So tell me a little bit more about you and the name, like where did the name come from? And yeah.
Okay, so I guess a little bit about me in terms of why I'm so outgoing and why I'm the way I am. I think I went to boarding school at the age of 12 and I really was kind of like thrust into a whole nother atmosphere. I'm from an island in the Caribbean, the British Virgin Islands, and I went to boarding school in Arizona. And I kind of had to like forge my way and find my way at a very early age. And I've always been very outspoken. So when it came to the name itself, Design My Vibe, it really just came to me. I had started doing these positive videos on Instagram. And then I realized like who I've always been is someone who wanted to do their own thing. My parents have been trying to like square me into a box for a long time. And it just never worked. I would always push the envelope. And I felt like that name really resonated in who I am and what I want for people. Like live a life that you design, not that what your parents orchestrated or TV told you to be. Live the life that you design that's going to fulfill you. So that made it very natural. And as I've grown into being a coach, it's showing in my work as well. And it's showing in the services that I provide to people. So yeah.
Great. I really love that. Like, that's like one of the reasons, why I got into coaching. I really love that, you started to realize that you are creator of your world and your life. And I don't think people really understand that you're creating with the words exactly what you're saying. And, coaching really, for me as I coach, I really listen to what the people are saying. And like, it's like those words are directly stopping you from having the life that you want, and really try to help people shift those words and the beliefs around what they're saying. So how much of it is that like a struggle or with your clients? Like how much do they realize, or they come in knowing like that's been stopping them? And how do you go by working with helping people to identify their beliefs, identify the words that they're saying that are directly stopping them from having the life and love that they want?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think even thinking about the difference between coaching and like dealing with a therapist, right? People think that they just can go off and off and off on their stories. And the aspect that I've taken in coaching is a coach is going to stop you when you're doing something that doesn't support you, right? So as soon as they start talking in this language and I realize where they're going with it, I stop them and I say, hold on, what word did you just use? And they stop and they realize and they say, whoa, I just used a word that's actually causing my action. And I said, yeah. And it's not only in this area of your life, it's in other places as well. And when they get stopped and I continuously do that, they start to do it to themselves. And they even switch their language around. Instead of saying, I wish, they'll say, I have, or I want. Instead of saying, I wish this would happen to me, it's kind of like, no, I have this. It's happening now. So in terms of my coaching, it's just really making sure that I'm listening and then stopping them right where, so they don't continue on with that habit, because it is a habit and we have to break it as soon as we hear it. Yeah.
It's so interesting, right before we having this conversation, I was listening to this YouTube video with Tony Robbins, and it was recommended by this other video that I watched, was like The Art of Winning. So then he had this whole, like, it wasn't a podcast, but it was like somebody, a voiceover of Tony Robbins. And he said, basically the words that we use, and he was like, change should to must. Like, I must do this. I must do that. Like, that will give you your why. Like, even like me saying, I must have this done, it gives you a purpose, because, I realized too, like, should does not give you access to like power. It doesn't give you access to action. It's like a someday kind of like language, and a lot of people don't really realize that the words that we use stop us. So, tell me like some of the words that you point out to your clients that directly stops them. What words have you noticed that stop your clients in their tracks from having taken action?
Got it. My favorite one is I've been like this my entire life.
Oh.
Honey.
Right?
That is my favorite one, because I'm like, you could change that like this, right? And a lot of these people are like 30 years old, and it's like, so you've been like this for 30 years and you're willing to stay like this for the next 60 years of your life? And I even pulled that on my parents, because my parents are about in their 50s, and my mom always said, well, your father's been like this his entire life. And I said, but it's not working.
Right.
And imagine you guys could be married for another 30 years. Are you going to allow what's happened and what you're used to be able to dictate your future? And I think that's the most powerful identification to make with anybody, because we believe that if we were like this for a certain amount of time, that we will always be like this. And I have learned in my own transformation that the minute that you identify that action that isn't supporting you, you get to choose something else to replace it.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that's my favorite one. That's my favorite one. I've always been like this, or my parents may be this way. My parents have been this way. Generational curses. If you don't get away from me with that nonsense,
right?
That's repeated action, honey.
That I'm so happy you said that. It really reminded me of like with my own family. To be a little personal, my mom was very. So my family was never really close, and so. After I had done Landmark, which really changed my life and really helped me transform my family, because I was really being a stand, like I can help change the course of my family. I do not have to be at effect of what these 30 years of all these things has been passed down to my family. And my mom, said to me one day, well, this is the way we are. We're not close. We don't talk to each other. So you don't get in their business. I don't get in their business. I'm just like, yeah, but it's not working. Like, this is the reason why we're not close, because we're not allowing ourselves to care, to have passion, to have empathy. Like, we can change it. I said, you see, like, my way of being with you is directly changing my relationship with you, because before we used to we were never we weren't that close. Like our conversations used to be like 10, 15 minutes at a time until I got like how I was acting and behaving and all the beliefs around my relationship with my mother. Like, because I too was like saying, oh, well, this is how it is. And I wouldn't engage, but until I found out those beliefs around my relationship with family and mom, then I was like, okay, well, I want to create this with her. And when I really shift that relationship in the words I was saying, and I had to really like own up to some things that I, did with my mother. I found like I was manipulating her, trying to get her to do things that I want to do and not really listening. But when I really, told her that and really got clear with her, that whole relationship shifted. So people just are reserved with like, this is the way our family is, and the power of having a coach to really identify those things can really dramatically change people's relationship. Is that true for you in your coaching business, well, in your family, you personally?
Oh yeah, of course. I would love to talk about this. So I would say the same thing. My parents are both Libras. I have to drop a little horoscope in there. They're both Libras. They're both Libras, and they are very similar. And I feel like with me being the first child and the first of 4 children, I've been uniquely placed there for a reason, because I'm the only water sign. So I'm like, everybody come, let's hug, let's touch, let's talk. And everyone is like, no, we don't want to do that. And I realized that in me creating that conversation and pushing the conversation, there's an impact on my parents' relationship as individuals and as being married, and then also the relationship that they have with my siblings, right? And I have had to actually show up and be extremely vulnerable with my mom and really share with her the things that happened in my childhood that formed me to be the way I am. And in doing that, she's been able to look at her childhood and see, wow, maybe I am not this way. Maybe this is because of my childhood and I get to change this.
Yes.
And that is what's changing the dynamic of our relationship. We talk every damn day and I love it. And it's genuine, it's authentic. There's nothing to hide. There's no mother-daughter relationship. There's just, my mom is a human being that has goals and dreams and desires just like I do. And I get to approach her that way. Before it was like, this is my mom. She's trying to tell me what to do. And it was very limiting. It limited our relationship. And now I've kind of blown the roof off of it, and we can do whatever we want. We can be whoever we want together.
That you said something so important that I discovered too for myself. Like it really starts with you looking within first, and me also being vulnerable with her, because I had to create the space for her to show up that way, in order for her to be vulnerable, in order to allow herself to be seen, even though I didn't see it at first. But continually being vulnerable, being open, it allowed her in return to really show up. And it really I was like, whoa, my mom is really revealing things to me that I never, known about her, which I've always wanted. And it was here, and actually kind of made me afraid, but it really, again, really deepened my relationship with her. And I'm really grateful for the tools as a coach to really, draw those out. I want to take a little side note. So just talk more about your business. Okay. So it says, I read on your website. So tell me about what is SMART.
Oh, okay. So, so SMART is an acronym for setting goals, right? And I'm actually gonna just look it up to make sure I say all of this correctly. But so basically, I have adapted this into my own life because I feel like it really supports me in creating goals that I will actually attain, right? So I have noticed in myself that I would set out some really lofty goals, and then I'll be like, yeah, I believe in the universe. I'm just gonna manifest it, and it's just gonna happen. Honey, there's this beautiful thing in believing and having faith, but there's a very key piece of that, which is action. You can believe everything. But if you don't actually go after it and take those actions, then it won't actually come. So SMART is actually an acronym for specific, measurable, assignable, relevant, and time-based goals, right? And if we break that down, especially when it comes to specific, I can say that I want a new apartment, right? What's more powerful is to say, I want a new 1-bedroom apartment in Williamsburg by the water where I pay no more than $3,000 per month in rent, and the building has XYZ amenities. Mm-hmm. Now that is specific. Now I know exactly what I'm working towards versus just saying I just want an apartment, because saying that I can end up in someone's basement here in New York City, right? So, I mean, that's real, right? So then,
gotta be specific.
You know how it is. Uh-huh. And then in terms of measurable, how are you keeping yourself accountable, right? So for instance, I had a call today, a power hour with someone that I met in Landmark. She's also a coach. And we set a specific amount of calls that we were going to make on that power hour. And in doing so, I had a goal to work towards. And then also I was able to say, all right, how many calls am I going to make? I'm going to make 13, and I only made 12. However, there's no way to actually measure whether or not you've attained something unless you've set a specific number to counteract and go back and see, all right, the goal was $1 million and I made 900,000. Okay, amazing. Mm-hmm. Amazing. Assignable. So assignable is like creating a list, creating a checklist. How are you breaking those goals down backwards, right? So if my thing is I'm going to be on this live stream or this podcast with you today, going backwards, okay, so that's on Monday. What can I do on Sunday and Saturday to prepare for this, to make sure that I am ready and have valuable content in order to provide and be of value to this podcast, right? So it's breaking your goals down backwards and creating a checklist. So if I check all these 5 things off, I know that I'm going to be successful. I know that I'm going to have this value when I come to contribute. Relevant. Oh man. So you want to make sure that anything that you're working towards, the steps are relevant to the greater goal. It's very easy to create a plan and then put all this other fluffy stuff that looks like we're doing something, right? It's like busy work, basically, right? If I know that I'm supposed to prepare for a meeting and I'm on calls with all these other people, I'm busy, but am I actually working towards the goal? I'm not. So you want to make sure that those things are relevant to the overarching goal that you have. And then lastly, time-based. I think there's a line by Drake that said, goals are only dreams with a timeline.
Yes.
So if you just have my goal is to get this new apartment and there's no like by July 1st. Then that goal can be out there lofty for years. However, if you know it's by July 1st, you're then going to break that down. What do I need to do in order to accomplish this goal by July 1st? And if you do all those things, you will have that apartment by July 1st. So that's really what SMART goals is. Yeah.
And so when does you implement that with your clients? Like take me through like, when a client says, yes, I want to work with you, then what's the next step when they start to work with you? Like, how do you start working with them?
Okay. So the first thing that I do is my process is we have a free discovery call. And on that call, we really figure out, can we work together? Should we work together? Are you truly committed? Because one thing I've realized in my own training and being coached is that if I'm not committed to something, I'm not going to treat it with the regard that I should. I'm not going to even have the results that I want to have. So a big thing for me is making sure that my potential clients are committed to what they want to accomplish. And once we're clear on that, then I can say, okay, we can work together, because I want to work with someone that wants to get to where they say they want to get to.
And what are like some signs that may versus like this person's not really committed and this person's like a yes, I will be as my client?
So I think a good thing for me is in my conversations, I'm very clear about what can be created through working with me. And what I do is get into their world and I ask them, what are the things that would make this a success for you? And once they start listing off those things, 99% of the time, they're like, when are we ready to start? When can we start? I'm ready to go. And that's when I know. If they put it back in my hands and they're like, yeah, so what do you think? Or then I know that you're not ready. You're still waiting for me to guide you along your life. I am the conduit to your goals and dreams. I am not going to hold your hand to your goals and dreams.
Right.
Most of my clients are not in New York. They're international. They're somewhere else in the world. So I can't physically go there and be like, all right, next step, next step, next step. A lot of my job is trusting that my clients really want to accomplish these things. I can give you the steps and you are going to work those steps.
Right.
Yeah.
I really love that. Like one of the things that, when I was, as you know, I'm a Calling in the One certified coach. And so in our process, before we work with someone, we ask one question, because this was the exact same question that was asked of us before they accepted us into the program. They were like, how is life happening through you instead of to you? Oh. And I was like, ooh, like it really like hit me like, oh, I am responsible for everything that I'm doing in my life, and I'm not being a victim. I'm being responsible. So is there a way that well, how do you know if a client is being responsible or not being responsible in their life? Like what are some of the signs?
I think through the questions that I ask, right? If someone's very resistant to the notion that, do you realize how the verbiage that you use and the actions that you're taking are actually causing this result? Because our first call is really for you to like share with me what's going on, right? What got you to get on this call with me? What's going on in your life that caused you to think you need a coach, right? And once we're open and having that conversation, my job is to get them to understand the power in their life. Right. So yes, this is something that happened in the past. However, you were a part of that happening. And if on that call, they're open to seeing that, okay, I can see where I caused that, then I get to know that they're open to what coaching is.
Right.
If they're very resistant and against that and believe that it was not their fault, then coaching is not for you. Right. Because a lot of our process is you having an open mindset and being able to look at things from, this is my life, this is my responsibility. And that's a big thing to accept.
It really is. Because I find a lot of people don't want to look at, they don't want to look at what they weren't or are responsible for. They're afraid to see the things that they have caused or not caused. And, it's easy to be a victim, I find, and it takes real courage and an open mind, like you said, to really just take it in and, and be able to recreate. Because I don't know why, maybe you could help me out with this. Like, I find like being 100% responsible is really one great courage, and like, oh, I get to say so how my life goes. But I don't. What is the struggle that people have with looking within themselves to able to get out of their way? Like, what do you think that as a coach that you see that always stops people over and over and over again?
It's easy to point the finger. It's easy to say my mom's fault. That is so easy.
Right, I know.
That is so easy. Like you're really trying to tell me right now that all this stuff that happened in my life is my fault? No. Nope. Right. Nope. Not with them parents I got. Not that school I went to, and not this job I got, and this boss I got. It's my boss's fault. Right. And that is so much easier to say and to criticize and to judge someone else. It's easier than to look inside and say, wow, if I was looking at this differently, I could have had a different result. Like, it's mind-blowing. It really is mind-blowing, even to the where we are, right? I think we're in a space where we have chosen to do that, and now we get to really look at that in a powerful way and say, wow, if everything that I've thought created the life I live, now I can have positive thoughts and create the life I live. Whereas some other people, it's a lot easier to just say, you know what, I don't even want that responsibility.
Right.
Blame my parents, they brought me here. It's not me. Yeah, I think it's really the ease in just saying, you know what, it's somebody else's fault. And I'd rather just allow this to continue on, and maybe one day it'll change.
Right. So Have you had your own coach before?
So I have not had a personal coach in the past year, and I really believe that I've always done self-development, always read a lot of books and applied new thinking where I could. And you can tell me something one time, and it's gonna stick. Especially if I see that I can be a better person as a result of that, or I can be healthier as a result of that, it sticks. So in the past year, I did momentum education, number one, before I even got to Landmark. And the difference I would say is momentum is very empowering. I felt like the queen of the world when I left there, and that I did three different group environment coaching, right? So there's a basic, there's the advanced, and then there's leadership training, which is all in groups. However, I did my best to capitalize on calling my coach and having a personal relationship with my coach, because I realized that that one-on-one interaction really gave me some insight into myself. And they were able to kind of guide me in ways that, hey, there's parts of you that work, right? And then there's parts of you where, come on, let's get real. Like, is that way how you got here now? Because what we've been doing has been getting us what we have. So in order for you to have something different, you got to let that stuff go. And then through Landmark, I've had my personal coaches as well. So one thing I have looked into is a business coach, because I want to take my business to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So that's actually what I'm reviewing right now. Yeah.
So can you tell me like one area of your life where a coach has really helped you shift that area? Like what it was before and how it is now? Or what was what was it before? What was the insight that like really like, woo, and then you shifted your life?
Oh, Lord. Oh my gosh. Okay. Damn. All right. So with romantic relationships.
Oh, yes.
This is the juicy podcast, right? So we're going to get juicy on y'all.
Juicy, yes.
Okay. So in terms of romantic relationships, I've always had this like, I run the show type of mentality. And
I hear that all the time, people. Come on, give me that juice.
Yes, I run the show, and then I get to tell myself, oh, I'm a Cancer, and I'm such a nice girl, and I'm so friendly, and I do all these good stuff for people. And most recently, in November or December, I had a breakdown with someone that I was dating. And everything was amazing for like 6-7 weeks. Then we got physical, and then there was a breakdown, and I'm just like, what the hell is going on? And I got very present with my coach, because one thing that I was saying was like, he did this and he did this, and because he did this, I did this. And what I got down to realizing is that my feelings are my responsibility. My entire life, you hear other people say it too, my entire life I've said, oh, he did that messed up thing and he hurt my feelings. And in this conversation with my coach, I realized that my feelings are in here. My feelings are only expressed when I say so. It's not my feelings are a soccer ball on the court and they're kicking my feelings around. Right. And the minute that we had that conversation, I got super present to me being whole, perfect, and complete, and showing up in a relationship. And if something isn't working for me, expressing that and not saying that someone has the power to hurt my feelings. That is completely false.
Right.
That's completely false. Yeah. Yeah. So once I got present to that, I was like, okay, now I can show up differently. And what does that mean? What does that mean for me? It means taking 5 seconds, 10 seconds after something occurs and really say, okay, what actually happened? And the way I'm feeling, the way I'm feeling, is that related to what actually happened? Or am I triggering something from some old relationship?
What are you making it mean? Right.
And the minute that I was able to do that, then I was like, okay, what actually happened was this. What is my feeling about this thing? Not the old file from 2007 where that old dude in college hurt my feelings. Because that has nothing to do with what's going on in 2019.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
I tell you, people need to listen to that. Like, oh my God, like, where do I begin with that? Like, just, you know, so there's this phrase that I use all the time, like, but I forgot where I got it from. I think it maybe from Oprah or somewhere. I don't remember. But
Mm-hmm.
when I tell my clients, I say, what is that relationship reflecting back to you that you still need to work on yourself?
Mm.
And they always get it. They're like, and especially me, like bring it back on me and sharing my personal self. I was actually telling this story with one of my best friends here in Nashville, and as I was being coached, and my coach was saying that I was not having boundaries with one of my best friends because I always felt so drained when I was with him and get so upset and angry. And then I actually refused to ask myself that question because I did not want to look. Because sometimes you just don't want to look. You want to just meddle in it, and you just want to just like, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then my coach, he was like, the reason why you're upset because you don't have clear boundaries with your best friend, and you are allowing him to affect you. You are allowing the conversation to continue. Because we used to complain about our mothers, we used to like bitch about them,
Mm-hmm.
and it would then once it started there, it would just go down this rabbit hole of like complaining and complaining, complaining. And when I left, I never felt good, and I knew I loved this person, but wow, when I leave this person, I'm like exhausted, you know. And my coach is like, you either set boundaries or you need to get rid of this friendship. And that I was just like, oof. Like he was like, this has been going on too long. So I was like, okay, so I had to set the boundaries. So,
Mm-hmm.
one day, we kind of went down that road again. And I said, I'm not going to have this conversation with you anymore. I realized that it does not do good for me. We go down this rabbit hole. I said, I don't want to complain anymore. I said, plus, my relationship with my mother has shifted. And I really don't have much to complain about. And I'm not going to look for something to complain about. It's good. And so, therefore, this conversation, this topic is off limits. And he looked at me. He was like, really? And I was like, yeah, really. He kept trying to go, but I was like, nope, I'm not going to do it. And it was really awkward. And it was hard because I have
Yeah.
so much respect and love for him. And he's such a vital tool in my growth in my life. But sometimes it's hard, to really look at the relationships in your life. And when you have a coach, and he was like, my coach is like, I want to hear progress the next week. Like, you either
Mm.
call him or you do something like this is because this is weighing on you.
Yeah.
And, to really have that accountability with a coach who's really really out to see you win in your life. I think that people don't see the value. They often mistake coaching with therapy, and it's so different.
Mm-hmm.
Like therapy is processing the past, and we're not really processing the past. We're just like, what the meaning you make, like that happened, and distinguishing that's the past, this is now, you're creating right now. And I wish that people take advantage of having coaches in their lives, just like the dramatic difference you can have in your life.
Yeah.
So what are you working on, any other areas with a coach now? Like, what else? Tell me what inspires you by being a coach. I just really love to hear that.
Okay.
Like, what
Um,
moves you by being a coach?
oh man. So it's interesting. Once I declared that I'm now a coach, people that have known me have been like, duh. Like you've always been that friend that wants to support people and connect people, and help them get where they're going to go. And I was like, wow, well, thanks guys. Thanks for speaking up earlier.
Right.
But I think it was really amazing to have that aha moment when I went to Momentum. I'm in the room and I'm literally watching them have conversations with people that get them to a point of, oh, wow, wow, I've never looked at it that way. And I'm like, oh, this is something that I've always done. And once I saw that, I was able to put a title to what I have always done, right?
Mm.
And what inspires me, like I will literally be on a coaching call and I will be tearing up because
Mm-hmm.
when my clients have a breakthrough, nothing is more fulfilling than that.
Yes, I
To
agree.
see someone win, like I feel like the ultimate champion.
Right.
And they did it through a conversation that they had with me. Like my job is literally having conversations, talking and listening. That is my job. And to be able to cause a transformation, cause a whole new outcome for someone else in their life through a conversation, it is the most powerful thing I could ever do. And I love it because I can do it laying in my bed. I can do it when I go to the cafe. I can
Right.
do it on the plane to another country. And it's really just using my natural gifts, my natural skills. I don't have to go outside of myself unless I want to fine tune, which is I'm completely always doing that. But it's like an athlete. Some people are naturally athletes and then they become professional players, right? But it's really, and this is why I love this work, is because you get people to figure out what is natural to you and how can you turn that into your business. We were
Mm-hmm.
already given all the gifts that we need. We were given them from birth, and yeah, that's the most amazing feeling, I would say. Yeah, it inspires me
Yeah,
daily.
that is for me too. Like, it's one of the most rewarding things when you
Mm-hmm.
hear them one start to change the language, how they're talking, and I literally will be like, yes, be on the phone with them, and I remember, one woman I was, from England, I was coaching her, and I remember she was, I think, on our fourth session. She said, well, I need to tell you something. I said, okay. Should I quit my job and I'm on unemployment? And I was like, okay. So do you want me to shift, the sessions around business? And she's like, no, let's continue with love and see what comes up. And so one of the things in the Calling to One process, you do like these power statements. You go through this whole process and then you create a power statement. And her power statement was, and which I stole too, her power statement was, I seize opportunities with velocity. And I was like, ooh.
Mm.
And we
Oh, I
started
need to
saying
write
how,
that down.
yes, girl, write that down. And
Mm.
she was like, I said, now always say, how is that going to show up in your life? And she said, and she starts saying it, Sarah, by the time we had our next call in a week, this lady had 4 interviews, was always on her second interview. All the jobs were jobs that she really wanted and dreamed of. And then in our following call, she had the job she wanted. She asked for more money than she ever had. And a part of that breakthrough was in her love life. She didn't ask for what she wanted. She just let men do what they want. And she just sat back. She never asked for, she never set boundaries. She never stated what she wanted. She wasn't very clear what she wanted. But then she started to be clear. And that, I get goosebumps just saying it. It's like we were both crying on the phone because she literally is now asking for what she wants and not being the effect. And that is like having a coach that really help create that is all a coach, I think, can really ask for.
Yeah. What actually just came up for me just now in what you were sharing, and this is something I talked about on my live stream last Friday. There's something about service-based businesses, especially in coaching, where we both get something from the conversation. It's not just you talking to me about what's going on. Through your transformation, I am also being transformed. There's things that you go through that inspire me. So even that, when you said her power statement, I'm like, yo, I could use that.
Right.
That can apply to me as well. In terms of her saying, demanding what she wants, I could use that as well. And I'm sure you can too. So that's what I love about those conversations. And it's not just about, hey, you're paying me, so this is all about you. It is all about you. But just know that when you share, I am getting something too. Your life transforms me.
Yeah, my coach, Catherine, the author of the book, she always says, a couple of things I really took it to heart. She goes, your clients will always reflect back to you what you still need to grow, how you still need to grow as a coach. Two,
Hold on. Ooh,
girl,
Catherine. Ooh, honey, read me. Read me, Catherine.
Right. And she said,
Mm.
if your client is resistant to you, it's how you're showing up on the call. And you need to you're bringing that resistance, and you need to figure out quickly what is in the way of this person not trusting you to go further with you. I was like, oh, she's like, and I was just taking that in. And I started to really look at if I'm really with the current guy I'm coaching, I'm really I guess I'm hard on him a little bit. He's really in action. But every time I get off the call, I'm like, how can I apply that in my life? And I'm literally planning my whole next 7 months out. So I'm doing this other 7-month program. Yeah. Then I'm putting all my content down. I have my whole YouTube thing written down. Because I have him doing it. So I was like, well, if he's doing it, I need to take my game up another level too.
Yes.
So how do you find that's true for you or do you find that valuable for you when you get off the phone with coaching and saying, how can I apply that to my life? Are you in constant discovery with that?
Oh, hell yeah. I think so my one client right now, her thing was around conversations, right? And I would be pushing her to get on the phone and have conversations that made her feel uncomfortable. And I'm constantly in discovery because I feel like, how else can I be better, right? And that's how I'm able to be different in this hour than I am the next hour. Mm-hmm. And in those conversations, I realized, wow, I should be making these calls too. I'm here as a confidence and relationship coach. Where can I improve some relationships in my life?
Right.
And then another of my clients, her thing is time management. That's the biggest thing that we're focusing on now, getting her time management down and then also establishing healthy habits. And what I realized is during one of our first sessions, I was like, whoa, I'm kind of off track on my stuff too. There's certain stuff that I do every day, like meditate and pray. And then I realized, what about the other stuff? You have a whole calendar a whole physical, and I have it right here, a physical planner that I use. And I realized I was kind of getting off track with planning my days. And I said, in order for her to be successful, I need to also be planning my days strategically. So get back on it, sis, because life is like that, right?
Get back on it, sis.
We gotta recommit. We gotta recommit. And I think that gives us the grace. That's one thing I've been able to learn is I give myself grace with that because we are gonna fall off track. It happens, life happens. But the biggest thing is remembering or even checking in with that book and seeing, what are my goals? All right, let's get back on it. Let's recommit because we are gonna fall off, but you can always get back on. Some people fall off and they stay off.
Right.
Oh, I ate that bag of Cheetos, so I'm going to just eat Cheetos for the whole week. And it's you ate that bag of Cheetos, enjoy your Cheetos. Tomorrow, we ain't eating no Cheetos. We back on those fruits and vegetables.
Right. I had to give up chips after coaching one of my clients. I was like, yep, got to get back on my health game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, nope, got to recommit. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and that itself is a muscle, right? Being able to recommit, that is a muscle.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the last couple of questions. Just tell me what comes to mind when I read this off. So what does a life of love mean to you?
Ooh, a life of love. A life of love means just acceptance, acceptance of yourself. And I think when you accept yourself, you can therefore much easily accept other people. I can definitely identify when I was more in an insecure space. It's so easy to get into conversation about other people. I used to read People magazine like it was the Bible. And it's I have no interest in those things because that person's life is their life.
Right.
I am now so clear on my life has so many different aspects to it. And if I am confident in my life, I have no reason or no words to talk negatively about somebody else. And that's a life of love for me. Loving myself, I can easily and more profoundly love other people.
Right. And so, what does a juicy love life look like to you?
Mm, mm. A juicy love life. I would
Mm-hmm.
say a juicy love life is self-expressed. Being able to speak about anything that comes to my mind, knowing that it came to my mind and I
With
just
your
want to
partner.
share it with you. Yeah, yeah, with my partner. Like we get to have a partnership where everything is game. Let's talk
Mm,
about it. That is juicy to me
yes.
because I'm not with you all day. I don't know what you come in contact with every day. And if we don't have conversation, I'll never know. So,
Right.
and I think that's where we have the disconnect in relationships because we don't check in. We
Mm-hmm.
avoid conversation. And for me, a
Mm-hmm.
juicy, passionate love life is let's
Yeah.
talk about it. Nothing is sexier to me than intellect. Like I want to have a lot of sex as well, but I think what makes that even more passionate is I get to be in the moment with you when I know that we're talking about everything.
And I'm still in this next question from the guy who pushed me to create podcast. What does disrupt mean to you? How do you disrupt your clients so they can have the life that they want?
Hmm. Disrupt. Huh. Disrupt means identifying the things that don't work, right? It's not making you wrong. It's not saying that those ways of being are incorrect. I think it's just identifying, does it work or does it not work? And I think when you put someone in a position of power and they get to say it doesn't work, I
Mm,
will never tell a client that they're wrong. I will never say that something they did was wrong. I allow them to use the framework. And when they say it's wrong, I said, there's no right or wrong,
right.
right? It just doesn't work.
Right. Mm,
And I think that's the perfect definition of disruption. Does it work?
right.
We can put
And
something
so,
else in that place.
and what is the secret to coaching that you wish people knew and took advantage of?
Ooh, listening. Listening is the secret to coaching. It is the secret to relationships. It is the secret to life.
Mm,
Listen more. The more
right.
you listen, the more data you could collect, and then you can make an educated decision, an educated point of view, an educated piece of advice. Listen.
Yeah, I was just talking to one of my best friends today. I said, I don't think you realize you don't listen. Like, I think people think they listen when they respond. It's like, no, you're adding and taking away. You're not really listening to what people are saying. So, yeah, that's really
Mm-hmm.
great. Um, so, where can people find you if they want to connect with you?
Okay, so first of all, my website, www.designmyvibe.com. I am becoming more active. I spent all of last year writing in terms of sharing myself. This year, I am more focused on writing in terms of how can you take some solid pointers, some solid takeaways and apply to your life. And then more actively, I love Instagram. So if you are on Instagram, I am on there all day in my stories. And then on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I cover confidence, relationship, and entrepreneurship. And it's really my opportunity to engage with people, to see what's going on in their real life, and then share myself authentically, right? And let you connect with that too. I think that's the most rewarding. One of the most rewarding parts of coaching is just using it as a conduit to be vulnerable. And in my vulnerability, I allow others to be
Mm.
vulnerable.
And
Yeah.
you're Designed by Vibe on Instagram, right?
Yes. Design my vibe on Instagram. Yep.
And I know you're working on one thing. You have a project that you're working on.
Oh,
You want
yes,
to talk
I am
about that
working on a
quickly?
very big project. Yes. Okay. So, for anyone that is familiar with the British Virgin Islands, that is where I was raised in the Caribbean. And we were pretty destroyed by Hurricane Irma and Hurricane Maria about 2 years ago. So, I am working on an initiative for July to take at least 30 people down to that
Mm,
country. And what we're going to do is, one, we're going to rebuild, we're going to replant some trees. And more importantly, I want to inspire the people of that country that your country matters to the overall world, right? You're small, people may come here for vacation, but what does a vacation mean? It means peace of mind. It means learning a new culture. It means being poured into. And I really
mm,
want to inspire them to remember that we add value to the world. Yeah.
mm. That is Sarah. So Sarah, I thank you so much. It's such a great conversation. I look forward to expanding my connection with you and actually
Yes.
meeting you in person. This was so
Yes.
enriching for me. And I look forward to talking to you again.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for reaching out and forging this
Yes,
relationship. Yes, thank you.
you're welcome.
Hey guys, it's Sarah from Design My Vibe. Thank you for tuning in to Crazy Juicy Love Podcast. As a gift for tuning in, I'm offering 3-hour-long sessions for free. All you have to do is send me an email at sarah@designmyvibe.com or DM me on Instagram at designmyvibe. Mention that you listen to the podcast and also mention your favorite thing or favorite antidote that you took away, and then I'll get your session started as soon as possible. You have to be in the first 3 though. Thanks again for listening to Crazy Juicy Love.